Whether you and your partner are arguing constantly, or the relationship has quietly changed over time, you just know when things are falling apart. And the statistics don't help, with around 50% of marriages ending in divorce. It's easy to wonder if you're headed in the same direction. But if you and your spouse are willing to work at your marriage, there's no reason you can't overcome your current hardships. And I am going to help you by explaining some important ways you can save your marriage. But first, let me share some of the signs that things are falling apart. 7 signs that your marriage is falling apart. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're here because you're desperate to fix your marriage. Whether your partner's behavior towards you has changed, or the relationship itself has become stale, it's hard to judge whether you're going through a rough patch, or if the end of the marriage is near. Therefore, I want to share these 7 signs so that things can become more clear. Sign number 1. There's little to no intimacy. Sign number 2. You hardly talk anymore, and when you do it's either very limited or it turns into an argument. Sign number 3. One or both partners stops making any effort in the relationship. Sign number 4. There's a lot more resentment than respect. Sign number 5. There's an emotional disconnect between you both. Sign number 6. You feel helpless when you think about your marriage. Sign number 7. You have stopped spending time together. Now, even though this is a brief overview, if all or most of this has been happening in your marriage for some time now, then there's a good chance it's taken a turn for the worse. So before I talk about the ways you can save your marriage, let me tell you clearly, that you have to buckle up and learn to become a high-value woman. A high-value woman is a strong and independent woman, who has the ability to control any man she wants, especially her romantic partner. I have written an ebook along with some video training tutorials on this topic. Please grab the free ebook and videos from the link in the description below. So, here are the 5 ways you can save your failing marriage. Way number 1. Find ways to communicate effectively. Communication is at the heart of everything. Without effective communication, our relationships break down very quickly. You don't feel understood, your spouse feels attacked. You can see how not being on the same page can upset your marriage. So how can you communicate better with your partner? Here are a few tips. Number 1. Listen with the intention of understanding, not just waiting to give your response. Number 2. Try to avoid passing judgment and just stick to the facts. Number 3. Stick to I statements rather than you statements. For example, I feel upset right now, instead of you've made me upset. Number 4. Avoid responding defensively. Number 5. Express negative feelings in a way that doesn't put your partner on the defensive. When it comes to positive or negative statements, some research suggests that marriages are happier when there's a 5:1 ratio. That means, for every 1 negative interaction, the couple should share 5 positive experiences to keep a healthy balance. So even though it feels like your marriage is falling apart, it's never too late to work on your communication skills. After all, this could be a leading factor in why your marriage is suffering in the first place. Way number 2. Don't wait until it's too late. The chances are, something has happened which makes you worry that the marriage is unraveling. Whether you can just feel it in your gut, or your spouse has verbalized their unhappiness, it can feel like a dead end. But if you want to save it, you've got to act now. Don't wait for things to escalate further, and certainly, don't bury your head in the sand and hope it'll all work itself out. Because it won't. The longer you leave it, the more damage will be done, and you'll have less of a chance of repairing things with your partner. The truth is, your marriage is failing because issues weren't addressed on time. Whether you're experiencing resentment, an emotional disconnect, or a lack of intimacy, something has led you to this point that should have been looked at sooner. Now, that's not necessarily a fault of yours or your partner, but unfortunately, many couples fall into the trap of brushing their problems under the rug. And when this happens, tension slowly builds up until it's too late. Way number 3. Don't wait for your spouse to fix things. The very fact that you're watching this shows that you're willing to make an effort to save your marriage. You're off to a good start. But at times it's easy to think, why should I be the one to save this relationship? Especially if your spouse isn't making much of an effort. Here's why you should. Deep down, under all the hurt and resentment, you still want this marriage to work out. You love your partner, you just don't know how to fix the mess you're in. Imagine if you both took on this attitude? Your relationship would improve drastically. Imagine if your partner came to you and tried to make amends. Imagine that they started treating you nicely, like they did at the beginning of the relationship. Can you picture what it would be like if they started making a loving effort with you? You'd feel great, and ultimately you'd probably start being a lot nicer back. So, be the first one to take a step towards fixing your marriage. The effect it'll have on your spouse might surprise you. Way number 4. Surround yourselves with the right people. Let's face it, some of your friends have been rooting for you guys since day one, others not so much. We all have that friend, who for whatever reason, always has something negative to say. And they won't hold back on criticizing your marriage, and your partner. This is dangerous for your marriage. Want to know why? You're already upset. You feel down in the dumps, you're struggling with your marriage, and you don't know what to do. So you turn to a friend, in this case, the one that never has anything hopeful or positive to say. At your weakest point, when you're crying out for help, being shoveled with a whole bucket full of reasons to leave them isn't going to help. It might even cause you to do something you'll later regret, all because your friend has painted a dreadful picture and encouraged you to get out before it's too late. So what should you do instead? Surround yourself with the people rooting for you. The people who genuinely love you and your spouse, and want to see you succeed. That way, when you reach your wit's end and you need to complain over a glass of wine, they'll give you encouragement, support, and honest advice on how to save your marriage. Way number 5. Learn when to agree to disagree. As you're going through these difficult times with your partner, it's crucial to learn when to let things go. Both of you are already on edge. Things are tense at home and emotions are running high. Before you know, you're engaged in a full-blown shouting match over who left the milk out. This is where, knowing which battles to fight and which to give up on, comes in handy. You and your spouse are different people, you have different expectations, needs, and wants, so conflict is going to happen. Recognize that you're both entitled to have your own opinions, and sometimes the best thing to do is let an issue go if you're not getting anywhere with it. Even more importantly, agree to disagree if the issue is something irrelevant that you'll probably forget by next week. If you want more practical tips and steps to save your marriage or failing relationship, grab free access to my ebook and other training tutorials on how to get your man completely obsessed with you. I will turn you into a high-value woman in just 21 days, and your boyfriend or husband would be stunned to observe such a change in your personality. The link is in the description below. Please subscribe to the channel University of Obsession for more videos on relationship and dating advice. Like and share it with your friends if this video helped you by any means. See you in the next video. Take care.